Let's get started then. A little bit early, perhaps. This is me. I'm the team lead for the Qt3D project. We're based in Brisbane, in Australia. And some of you might have already heard of us or even used some of our stuff. The last time I spoke at DevDays, Qt3D was a labs project, but we're now an official add-on for Qt. And with Qt 5, we'll be as much of a full citizen of the Qt ecosystem as, for example, mobility and so forth. I've been working with Nokia and before that Trolltech since 2004. I've worked on a few different projects and I now find myself hacking on OpenGL and part of the Qt Quick team. A lot of the Qt Quick implementation is done out of Brisbane. So what I'm going to try to do today is start off by making a plug for Qt Quick. I want to cover two or three things. First off, I can't assume that everybody absolutely loves Qt Quick. And, maybe you do. I want to try and sell you on this idea, so I'm going to be a bit of a commercial for Qt Quick, so that's what I'll do first. Then I'm going to go into the 3D stuff. And one of the reasons I want to talk about why Qt Quick is good is that there are some really cool synergies that make Qt Quick and 3D a great match for each other. Following on from that, I'm then going to take some example code and put it onto the N9. So if you've missed the N9 sessions, I'm just going to try to really breeze real quick through that stuff. So there'll be some value there if you're interested in finding out how to get any kind of application, not just a 3D one, onto an N9. And I'm going to say a few mantras and sacrifice a rubber chicken to the gods of live coding because I'm going to try to do a demo in the middle. We'll see how that goes for us. But just talking about Qt Quick, it really is an awesome system. I've been working in computing and programming for 15 odd years now, and I've seen a few things come and go. But Qt Quick is a really good system that comprises both an IDE and a language to give you a really nice environment. And in saying that, some context, I presented about 3 or 4 months ago to a group of mobile developers in Brisbane. And these were guys who were using all kinds of mobile platforms. For them, in some cases, they had legacy stuff written in .NET. And one of the platforms that they had access to was something called Mono Touch. And that held out the promise of being able to take their .NET code and target iOS and also Android. The guy that was talking about Mono Touch talked about the fact that it came with an IDE and it came with this managed environment of .NET. But there was all these caveats sprinkled throughout, and I started to feel pretty good about our offering because the Qt Creator IDE is a pretty awesome thing, and this guy was saying, well, don't do this or otherwise it'll crash. But that's a commercial offering. So for a free download, you've got a low barrier to entry, and yet you've got something that's capable of producing... did I just turn that off? Works better with the power turned on. Something that's capable of producing, commercial quality software. This little game was written in Qt Quick by a game studio as a sort of a proof of concept in 1 week. And the Qt Creator works well with Qt Quick because you've got your syntax highlighting, which I'm hopefully going to show you, a nice set of wizards and auto-completion stuff. So the whole offering comes together. And it might be the case for some of you guys that you're sort of dabbling, trying a few things out, and you're trying to champion Qt Quick as a solution for your workplace or your project or whatever the problem is that you have to solve. Well, the nice thing here is that you don't have to worry so much about the issues of setting up that $100 developer license or whatever. So, I'm finding that as I talk to people, it really is a nice proposition. And the thing about the scripting environment, and this is where I want to segue into why it's good for 3D, is that it really is a pretty powerful set of functionality exposed by the scripting environment. Not only have you got the standard sort of things you get when you're editing text files instead of having to compile, with fast iterations and so forth, you've actually got, these components like animations, states and transitions that the IDE helps you compose, and those scripted concepts are immensely powerful in an application development environment. So the whole offering, I'm starting to sound like a TV commercial now, but I hope to convince you that it is a really good offering, and it works pretty nicely with 3D. So, where does the 3D stuff come in? Qt Quick 3D is the project that I've been working on for some time now. It's obviously an outcome of our Qt 3D team. And it came from the idea that you want to create a really good looking app on a device. And if you look at something like the N9 here, modern devices, they're trying to limit the amount of battery use. So, we want to have multiple processing units. Obviously, this thing's just a single core device, but, you've got the DSP and the GPU. And by spreading the available processing power across those units, you're lessening the amount of battery life. But to access that and get real zing with your application, the challenge is, in the same kind of way that your challenge is to multi-thread your app when you've got multi-cores, if you've got a GPU there, it's not going to give you those zingy, flashy apps unless you can leverage it to get some great stuff happening on the screen. So it's something that's thrown out there for us as app developers. How do we get that great app? Well, we want to use the GPU. How the hell do I do that? Well, 3D content is a good way to do it. I'll talk a bit more about what I mean by 3D content in a second. But, it's the flashy stuff that's moving around and it's swooping and folding and scaling and carrying on. And, it can not only look good, but it also gives you the opportunity to provide something that interacts well with the user's actions. So it can be quite instinctive and intuitive. But the problem is, to get there, you sort of feel like you have to do all this difficult OpenGL stuff. I know I want the power of the GPU. I know I want those great fluid animations and so on. But, as soon as I start to go into a 3D mode, I've got to worry about matrices and all this stuff and those classes that I should have done at uni about, God, gives me a headache even thinking about it. Well, I'm here to say that hopefully you don't have to worry about that stuff. Qt Quick 3D to the rescue, and you can get that stuff at lower cost. The flip side, of course, is that as soon as you think about that scripted environment with Qt Quick that I talked about, one of the problems is, well, hey, hang on, aren't I going to lose some performance? And yes, you should worry about that. Normally you want C++ when you're working with OpenGL, but C++, that's too painful. I want, the speed and the efficiency, the quick stuff to get to market out there with my new app, and I don't want to be mired in a lot of C++ stuff. So, my sales point, what I'm hoping to sell today, if you take one thing away from this presentation, is that Qt Quick 3D takes what you already know about Qt Quick with the IDE and all that environment that I talked about, and gives you one more tool that allows you to just start that 2D scripting and just carry it through to a 3D world that's going to give you access to all the power of that OpenGL hardware. So what is it under the hood? When we started out with Qt 3D, it was really a traditional set of OpenGL bindings. And if any of you have got, actually, can I just get a quick hands up? Who here has actually written a traditional OpenGL application? Quite a few of you, probably 30 or 40% at least. It's a C-like experience, right? Who loves writing that code? Few of you. Yeah, I saw a few shaking heads as well. Like, it's great when it works, yes? And you feel, I've got the power in my hands, you know, that thread of control is my C and C++, I can control exactly what's happening, until it doesn't work anymore. And you've got a black screen and you hate yourself, and it's, yeah. Anyway, what we tried to do was to create bindings that allowed you to get hold of that power without having to write a lot of C code. It was still writing C++, because like Ogre and Unity and all these other libraries that are out there, we wanted to try and make it a lot more Qt-like, a lot easier, high level, and you know, still give you access to that power with these C++ style libraries. But what we discovered was that by creating QML bindings, and if anybody's written QML bindings, they fall out kind of easily. It's not a lot more, you know, just a few properties here, and suddenly your classes are QML enabled. What we wound up with was a set of QML elements. Now, for those of you who didn't have their hands up and not OpenGL junkies, I'm talking to you guys now, the way to think about this is, when I talk about 3D content, what I actually mean is a theoretical object that lives in a 3D space, and obviously it's a 3D world, but it's projected onto a 2D screen. And I'm not talking about, you know, sort of stereoscopic type devices, so you don't need any funny glasses or fancy displays or anything like that. I'm just talking about the fact that you've got a 3D object, and OpenGL, the power of your GL hardware, is going to project that onto a 2D screen, and we'll get these depth cues from you know, a perspective effect where the objects closer to the screen look larger. And it's a very simple concept, but quite compelling and good for a touch-based interaction. Here, you know, that transformation is all being done by your GL hardware. Now, the reason I'm labouring that point is that, of course, you can do some 3D style or 2.5D effects using the 2D API by scaling things and so forth. If you want something to zoom in, you can move it and then scale it at the same time and get a similar effect. The thing is that that stuff is going to happen on your CPU, not on your GPU. We'll look at that a little bit more in a minute. So what can you do with Qt Quick 3D? Well, you can write some scripts, all in pure QML, that allow you to load up a 3D asset. And those guys who are OpenGL guns will know what I mean by that. That's a model that you've created with something like 3D Studio Max. It's in the .3ds or .max format. And you can get that guy up on the screen and then manipulate it around. You can make multiple copies of it, position it where you like, scale it, and use various effects and transformations to make one model. Say you're doing a 3D chess game. You've got a king, which might be some mesh. You can paint that black, make another copy of it, paint it white, make it marble if you want. So those things are available to you through our API. But the really powerful thing here is what I was saying, you know, when you get hold of the IDE, you can start hooking up QML's states and transitions and its standard animations, and you get this really cool sort of thing that just seems to fall out from the QML bindings. So surely I've got a lot of stuff to learn with this Qt 3D stuff, right? If I want to start with my 2D app and I'm just going to dip my toes in the water of the 3D world, it's going to be tricky. Well, I'm not going to pretend there is a little bit to learn, but if you've already written 2D apps in QML, you know most of what you need already. A lot of it's already there. You've got your states and transitions. The same kinds of things apply. All you really need to do is start using some, where you might have used a PNG file, you can maybe drop in a 3ds file in there instead and get a nice 3D effect. Mostly states and transitions just work. Those of you who've used states and transitions, you know that you can play around with JavaScript for a while before the wretched thing finally does what you want, but it's there, and the lessons that you learned and the skills you have from 2D QML will just trade across pretty well. The properties that we've exposed on 3D objects, they're also scriptable just the same as they are for your 2D stuff. And I'll hopefully show this in the demo, but another nice thing, of course, is that once you've created a 3D object and got it behaving just the way you want, you can then turn that into a reusable component and reuse it throughout your application. Okay, so time to sacrifice that rubber chicken. See if I can get this to work for me. The perils of old age, I now need glasses to see what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do now is just create a new project. I'm going to create a cute, quick UI. So this is just going to be pure QML, no C++ wrapper at this stage. Now, I'm going to pick on someone. This gentleman's been giving me lots of nice feedback. So you're going to be our test subject. Okay, so just imagine you're putting your new app on the store. So I just need, if I can get your name, or maybe...
I'm William Soragno. William Soragno from France.
William, all right. So my new app is, we're going to make a William app here that's going to knock the socks off the App Store. Okay, so the Nokia store is going to be huge for the William app. So, is it Guillaume? Right, all right. Don't sue me for royalties. Okay, so we've got a nice little template here that the wizards created for us. Now the first thing I have to do is go into my projects here, because I'm using the SDK and I have a range of choices of tool chains, and I'm going to use the desktop part of the SDK just for now, so that we can get going. Now what I've already done to set up is I've already installed Qt Quick 3D into the SDK. We have a set of packages that are available. So for Windows users, you can just download the installer and run that. For Mac and for Linux, we have a source package. And on the website, there's screenshots, step-by-step instructions of how to get that stuff installed into your environment. So now that I've done that, hopefully this guy will run our little Hello World program, and I can click there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is just try to start turning this into an application. First off, I'm going to use just the IDE here. This is going to be like the screen of our application. And I'm going to take that width and height, put it there. And I'm going to use this other rectangle as a button. So this can be our quit button, if you like. I'll make it the width of the parent. By the way, I'm going to drop in a few deliberate mistakes just to make sure you're on your toes. Not that I would make any mistakes, but so if you see something, feel free to scream out. Yes, that's what you want. You're right. Okay, I'll use anchors. So I want, I want to make it, actually what I'll do is anchors.bottom will be the parent.bottom. And I'll make the height how does that look? Is that going to work? Did I make any mistakes yet? Okay, so I've got a nice little thing happening there. So I'm still in my Qt Quick sales mode. And the other thing, we have our nice designer IDE here. So I'll turn this thing into a little bit more of a an actual application. I'm going to make this nice blue color here. And everything's better with alpha blending. You can't have too much alpha blending. And our text. So this is mostly for the benefit of any of you who haven't yet tried out the visual designer. It is pretty cool. All right, so now I have a nice quit button. And if I look back here, we can see that the changes that I've made are reflected there, and I've got a nice quit button. Cool. At the moment, the Qt 3D, the quick 3D integration only goes as far as the text. Our next roadmap item is actually to integrate a lot better with the designer, so you'll have a nice item where you can drag in those 3D assets I was talking about and drop them in a much more visual way. All right, so we've got something there that's looking like the beginning of an application. Now I want to try and turn it into a 3D app. So the first thing I have to do is import the 3D stuff. This was installed into the plugins directory of Qt, like I mentioned, or Windows by the installer. And we also have our standard shapes. So William's killer app is going to be a nice little sort of a rotatey sort of thing, I think. So the first thing I have to do is actually make a 3D viewport here. It's an item that's exposed. So let's just see if that's going to crash on me. No. Yay, big black screen of nothing. Now you OpenGL guys, you should be amazed by that because you know how long it takes you to get just an OpenGL context happening, right? Be still, my beating heart. All right. So now I'm going to add in some 3D content. If I can even type correctly. Oh, thank you, Qt Creator. So I'm going to add in a cylinder. What did I get? Didn't get a cylinder because we didn't have OpenGL. Let's see if I change that. And this is one issue, is that at the moment I'm using Qt 4. In Qt 5, everything runs on top of OpenGL. But in Qt 4, by standard, you don't get a GL window. I'll just see. Maybe I need to give it a bit better size. Maybe if I give it some dimensions, it'll play ball for me. That really does not look too good at all. I'm sorry? Yeah, that's true. Let's just see if I can use it. Try using this one. Well, the gods of live demos are definitely not smiling upon me today. One more try. I'll abandon all hope. Hoorah. Okay. Luckily I had my backup version of Qt handy. All right, so we've got something happening there already. So that's pretty standard. Write one line of code and then spend 5 minutes fooling around trying to find something that's actually going to make it work. All right, so I got a cylinder. And thank you for your patience. I'm now going to try and dress it up a little bit, make it look a little bit more fancy. So we've got our application, and I'm just going to dump in some just standard 2D images here. My idea here is that not everybody's a dab hand with 3D Studio Max, but you don't need to be. So I've just got some 2D images here. And let's see if I can persuade my cylinder to actually become kind of like a rotating sign. Let's see. I'm going to add an effect in here. And the effect of my effect will be to have a texture. Texture is just a fancy 3D thing that us OpenGL types use to make ourselves sound more mysterious. It basically just means an image. And I'm going to point it at that file that I just added. Let's see what that does. No, we don't want to do that. We want to use the one that works. Okay, so we've got a texture. Starting to look good. All right, now it's kind of the wrong way around. We want a nice sort of a revolving marquee effect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it in an item 3D. The item 3D is our version of the 2D item. And this is where you get this nice sort of synergy. I don't know, synergy sounds like one of those marketing terms, right? But the thing that any of you OpenGL guys will know about 3D stuff is that in order to tame the nightmare that is all these transformations that you have with OpenGL, you need to create a hierarchical structure. And on that structure, we're going to have our nodes that are going to manage our transformations, rotations, and translations, and so forth. That structure is called a scene graph, and you may already have heard talks here about the 2D scene graph, which is being used to bring an accelerated rendering experience for 2D QML. Well, we have our own 3D scene graph as well, and that's used for constructing that 3D world that I was talking about, so positioning things where you want them in that 3D space. Now, it turns out that because we've got a hierarchical structure, we can actually use the nicely hierarchical syntax of Qt Quick to get the same kind of effect. So if I want to position my cylinder down a little bit, I can do that by just... No, Sarah, don't use the broken one. Use this one over here. Yeah, all right. So now I've moved it down a bit just by changing the Y on that element. So actually, guys, is that a little bit too small to see from the back? Can you guys at the back make out that text? Maybe a little bit bigger, perhaps? I'm sure there's a hotkey for this. Control plus. All right. There we go, that's better. Right, so I'm going to add in another transformation because what I really want to do is have our cylinder tilted up so you can see the rotating marquee effect. So I'm going to have a rotation, and our rotation will be around the x-axis to tilt it up, and it'll just be a 90-degree rotation. I wonder if that's going to work. Nope, because I didn't use the right thing. I should have believed Qt Creator when it complained that I'd done the wrong thing. That looks better. So guys, feel free to scream out at me. I should have bought some chocolate fish prizes for the loudest scream. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me. All right, so now we've rotated our cylinder up there, but it's rotated the wrong way. This is what I'm talking about with that iterative development. As you can see today, I am not a genius. Today I'm a dummy, but I've actually managed to get something happening there already. Now this is, I wonder if this is actually going to work for me. Here's our component thing that I was talking about. So I've created something here, and because I called it Marquee, Qt Creator knows that I'm thinking of this thing as a marquee, and I might, for this app, I'm only going to have one of them, but you might want to have several of these things. So let's move it into its own component. What Creator's done for us is it's created this reusable marquee. It's done all our imports for us, and what's more, it's even dropped in our driver QML with a nice little reusable component there. So if I'm really lucky, this will do exactly the same thing as before, which it does. But I've now got my nice little reusable component with that functionality tucked away there where I can access it. So now that things are a bit less cluttered, I'm going to add in the animation to make this thing into something that's a little bit more exciting than just a static thing. You can see already, though, that as I interact with this, I'm using the mouse, but on a screen, just being able to move your fingers across and have that 3D object scroll with you, that's what I'm talking about with 3D content. You get this instinctive feedback that you're actually manipulating a 3D object in a 3D world, even just with a flat screen. So I'm going to add in my revolving axis here, which will be around the y-axis. And for the moment, we'll set the angle to 0. And because I need to manipulate this, I'm going to give it a name. It's going to be cylinder rot, sil rot. Anybody wants a better name than that, feel free to yell out. But sil rot it should be. What do you think, William? Is that descriptive enough? You could live with that? All right, okay. So now I'm going to hopefully animate this guy. So what I want is a number animation with a target. The target shall be my sil rot. The property is going to be the angle, and it's going to go to 360 degrees. Now I'm going to want it to run a little bit more slowly, so it's going to be like a kind of animated billboard. What else do I need to do? I may need to make it running from the outset, so we'll set it true. And we don't want it to stop, so it's going to be loops. Yes, exactly. Animation.infinite. Hey, that's starting to look all right, isn't it? And I can still manipulate it. And then I can press my 2D quit button that I created using the 2D designer. So what you can see there already is that I've mixed 2D and 3D content, and I've iterated over and over again until I finally got the thing doing what I wanted it to do. Now, the interesting thing there is I think that looks a little bit better when it's actually tilted forwards. So I'm going to go back to my original thing here, and I'm going to wrap it in yet another item 3D. And I'm going to add a transform, which will be a list containing a rotation 3D, which will be about the x-axis again. And it'll be an angle of 30 degrees to just give us a nice little tilt. And here you can see again, because I'm wrapping that item 3D, I'm using this hierarchical scene node. Under the hood, what this is creating for us is effectively a 3D scene graph. So projects like Open Scene Graph, for example, these things are all built on top of a 3D scene graph. And you get the same sort of effect here with these nested transformations. So hopefully, yeah, so we've got a nice little tilt right from the outset. All right. So that was our demo. I'm going to talk now just a little bit about some of the stuff that we've got working already with Qt 3D. As I say, up until probably the beginning of this year, we were a labs project, and we've now sort of tried to join the Qt Quick bandwagon. And we're trying to get a lot more functionality that Qt Quick designers and authors of apps would be excited about. I think there's some great stuff there already, but we also want to hear back from you, because as we work towards our 1.0 release, which is coming up, we've got a lot of items to choose from. There's already a lot of people out there in TV land using our stuff, which is fantastic, and we get some great thoughts back from them. One of the things, for example, is somebody's contributed skeletal animation, and you OpenGL hackers will know exactly what that is, basically for animating characters on the screen. But we have a few other things too, but things that are coming down the track. Things that already work are basically what I like to call real 3D. So that's loading up models like this one here of a monkey head. There's maybe 100 triangles, a couple of hundred triangles, something like that. And even with a basic low poly model like that, you can get some quite nice effects. That's been lit. It's got a nice gold material on it. And it's the real thing, right? This is actual 3D. It's going to be animated by your GPU, so at no cost to your CPU. And, those 2D effects, they mostly are pretty good, but there's something about the human eye and our perceptual system that just says, yeah, it's not quite right. So what I want to say is there's some value there in playing with 3D, just having a go, and my thesis is that it's a lot better result. You can actually get some nice content and just drop a little bit into your 2D application. Hopefully without costing you any extra performance.